Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mindset Teaching Outside the Box. We are your hosts, Jillian Willie.
And Eileen Edwards.
And today we're talking about the importance of a good routine and some tips that can help you, and you can pick and choose what you like and give them a shot to build your perfect morning routine that makes you feel really good and ready for the day. So to start us off, Eileen is going to give us our first tip.
Yeah, starting our day with a smile. So when we first wake up, whether it's on our own or by an alarm, just setting this tone right off the bat with a smile.
I love that. Just thinking about how you feel when you smile. And even if it's a fake smile, even if you wake up and you're groggy and exhausted, just smiling really doesn't it? I feel like at some point I learned the science of this. Doesn't it activate something in your
I think
body?
chemically, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a great tip. And actually, I know we're going to talk about meditation as a tip too. But one of the meditations that I started doing recently is centered on self-love. And one of the things that the woman who is running the meditation says to do is smile, even if it's fake. And the first couple days that I did it, at the time, I wasn't necessarily, it was fake, basically. But then by like the third day that I started doing it, it was very easy to just be a real smile. So it does make a huge difference. The great tip.
It absolutely does. A world of difference in setting the tone too for the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And another tip is box breathing, which I know, Eileen, you talked about in some of the recent episodes, actually, with mindfulness tools and meditation. And it's come up a couple times. But box breathing, this is something that I've started doing literally the second I wake up. I just take a couple minutes and I do box breathing, and it has made a world of difference for me personally. So box breathing is when you breathe in for 4 seconds, nice deep breath, then you hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and then hold that for 4 seconds, and then repeat. I do it for 6 minutes personally, but you can do it for any duration of time, whether you do it just a few times or, whether you do it for as long as you want. But it just helps to center you, and it kind of goes with meditation too, because you can try to focus on the breath rather than all the things that are coming into our mind. And it's just really soothing and allows us, rather than getting up and going, to just relax and breathe for a minute.
Yeah, I love box breathing. I feel like it's an opportunity for to feel like even, like it's kind of like a balanced breathing practice. You have a equal portion spent on, inhaling and exhaling, but also focusing on those so important pauses that come in between that we usually just completely ignore. So I think that's a good practice to have. Generally, I would say that if anyone is feeling anxious or even depressed or having any type of heavy feeling, they can lengthen the exhale, but keep the inhale the same. The extended exhale kind of has an added benefit of that extended release, and that can send your mind and your body the signal that things are okay. We extend that exhale, and And so that's the only added thing that I would put in there.
That makes
Hoping people aren't waking up feeling that way, but from my experience,
sense.
we totally can wake up feeling that way.
Yeah, it depends. I found for me that it depends on how I go to bed. If I go to bed in a bad mood, then I wake up in the same mood. And if
Mhm.
similarly for feeling good. So again, yeah, I agree. Hopefully people aren't feeling bad when they wake up, but it can definitely help. Even if you're not feeling bad, it just makes you feel even better.
Absolutely. And then you brought up meditation. Obviously, we talk about that a lot, mindfulness and meditation. I did want to say, meditation is like our opportunity to kind of go inward. So focusing on the being and not necessarily doing of anything. So spending time inside. And I know we've brought this up before, but I want to restate it that a morning meditation practice can even be as simple as 5 or 10 minutes. 5 or 10 minutes on being, completely with self inward. It could be a guided practice or just a sound meditation or a silent meditation, even. Just that opportunity to be 100% aware of your present moment and being okay with all that is in that present moment for 5 or 10 minutes even is beneficial. I know a lot of people recommend 20 minutes, but in my experience, just that 10 minutes every morning with myself made a huge difference.
Mhm. I agree completely. I know I've mentioned before that I have kind of fluctuated in my routines, and it's very normal for that to happen for people as our lives ebb and flow. And since I've gotten back into the practice of meditating every morning, I have felt that difference again. It's been so much easier for me to connect to spirit or source, and I've been in a better mood. I've been more productive. It sets the tone for a positive, mindful day. So it makes a huge difference, 100%.
Totally agree. I honestly can't imagine my life without that portion. And actually, there was one day last week, I think it was, when I wasn't feeling well and I had to drive my kids to school. I had slept later than I normally do because I wasn't feeling good. And I needed to drive them across town. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I'll just drive them across town, come back, I'll do my meditation. And I remember just kind of chaos. And I like attributed it initially to like the fact that I wasn't feeling good and it was, rushing across town. And then I was on my drive back when I was like, "Oh, wait a second, I haven't done my morning meditation yet," which is probably the first time I hadn't done it when I initially woke up in probably over a year. And I remember like pulling it back into my development, my neighborhood, and I was like, man, that is not a good idea to start my day without that. And I came home and that I, did it. And even though I wasn't feeling good, I was sick, I I felt much more calm, much more like centered, much more like able to, go through the following present moments, even though 10 minutes later it was going back to bed. Um, but yeah, it just makes a world of difference
Mhm.
in minutes.
That's a great example of how it can positively affect your day. Another tip that I have, we actually talked about last week, but it's visualization. So visualizing whatever it is that you want. For some people, it's their complete end result. So everything that you want way at the end of your desires, because there are milestone goals along the way to what most people want, especially those big things. So you can visualize the total end result. You can visualize whatever goal you're working on. You could even visualize what you want your day to look like. You can visualize anything, but it's visualizing something that you want, which again, we talked about in our last video in more detail, but that is a really powerful way to start your day because you're already putting into your mind what you want to happen and the good things that make you feel really happy.
That I don't have that ability, but I like that.
Even just trying to feel it, or even, reading your goal, or, putting it into your mind in some way.
Yeah. And that for me connects to positive affirmations, because that is something that I do. And it's kind of like again, another way to set the tone for the day, but having those things that I have like written out, and I don't even need to really read them anymore because now I just they're in my head, and then it's like I can just kind of go through and state those things. A lot of times I'll do them like 3 times, just kind of focusing on just that instead of just reading it off of a paper. But we've talked a lot about affirmations before. We have episodes about affirmations, and they're really powerful.
Yeah, they really are. And what's really nice about affirmations too, well, I mean, there's a lot of great things about them, but it can be so easy. You can put it, like, you can write it, like Eileen was saying, or have it written out so you can read it. You can have it like on your phone as a recording that you could listen to throughout your morning as you're getting ready or something. You can keep it under your pillow. Affirmations are so powerful because it is that auto suggestion. And I think too, what's really important for affirmations is to find an affirmation that you resonate with. So I know I've written out so many affirmations, and I realize over time that I refined them. And when I finally find the affirmation that's like, yes, this is really what I want to affirm, it just feels right. So I know that's not exactly what we're talking about here, but it can be, you're going to know that the affirmation is the one for you when it feels really empowering and exciting.
Yeah, and it feels like in alignment.
Yes.
And so I think positive affirmations is something to definitely incorporate as part of our start of the day, morning routine, whatever you want to call it. And another one that we've talked about before along the lines of, positive and changing mindset is gratitude. And gratitude practice is definitely something that's part of my morning. I have it as part of my classroom. First thing in the morning, we do gratitude practice, because that is something that really, again, can shift the mindset when you're focusing on the things that you're most grateful for. And it can be really anything. When we express gratitude, we have more to be grateful for, versus, expressing our complaints, and we have more to complain about. And so really shifting to a daily gratitude practice in the morning is a good way to set the tone for the day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Gratitude is one of the strongest feelings that we can feel. One of the strongest positive feelings that we can feel. And everything that shows up for us and that is in our life, we can be grateful for in some way, whether it's a lesson, whether it's something opening a door. I mean, there are so many different things. So completely, gratitude is wonderful. And as you said, it helps you attract other things to be grateful for. So I love that. And I love that you mentioned too that you do it with your classroom, or your students.
Yeah.
So everything that we're talking about as far as having a positive morning routine to start your own personal day off right, that also applies to your personal children, whether you have, children at home, or if you are in a classroom or work with children or even adults in another capacity. um, the morning routine with those people also makes a difference. It sets the tone for the day at work or at school or wherever you are. So that's something too to think about, to find a good routine that works to set a positive tone for your day with your kids too. Something else that I want to suggest that goes along with affirmation and gratitude, is if you have a self-image script, reading or listening to that. Some people also call it a life power script. And I think we've talked about this in a self-image episode.
Yep.
If anyone wants to go back and check that out or refresh your memory a little bit. But self-image is basically how you feel about yourself, how you view yourself. And we have complete control over who we are. And most of who we are initially comes from what other people have told us about who they think we are. And we take that on because we hear it a lot from other people. And it usually starts when you're a child. So when we sit down and we write out who we want to be, and then we read that or we listen to it consistently, that is an affirmation, because we are affirming who we want to be. And that is a step toward becoming that person. And I know when I read my self-image script, it empowers me and it gives me that feeling of confidence. And it's a really powerful feeling. So that is a tip that I have for morning routine. And it's really easy. It can take 1 minute, or if you record it and listen to it throughout your morning routine, then you don't even have to take extra time out, you know.
And I like that you added in that strategy of recording something and then listening to it. Because I mean, I've been doing positive affirmations for well over a year. But I like that idea of possibly like listening to them instead of just running them through in my mind. I'm gonna give that a try.
Yeah, I think it's powerful because you can very easily hear it throughout the day. If it's a new affirmation, you don't have to remember what it is, what I mean? Like if you're starting a new one, sometimes I'll forget like the wording that I used or something. So it's helpful. And I also found an app, which it was 99 cents, not a lot at all. And you can record and then you can merge. So you could have like meditation music, say, with an affirmation, and you could merge the tracks together and it plays on a voice loop. So it will just constantly play. You wouldn't have to keep pressing like a play button if you wanted to hear it over and over. It's called Voice Loop. So if anyone wants to check it out, like I said, 99 cents. It wasn't much at all. And I absolutely love it. So just a cool if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah, because I just usually use my voice recorder. That's neat.
Yeah.
Something else. Probably should have said this at the very beginning, but giving ourselves time. So I know that, especially in today's day and age, things are, overwhelming and sleep is not always easy to come by. And so the idea or thought of, missing any sleep is like, oh no, absolutely not. But just even if it's just a few minutes, giving ourselves time in the morning at the start of our day. This might mean like an earlier start, or it might mean like a later start for other things. So maybe if we plan to be places, 30 minutes early, maybe we plan to just get there 15 minutes early. Just giving ourselves some time at the start of the day. So what I did is I try and wake up, set my alarm for 15 minutes earlier than like what I feel like I need for the day. So then that gives me the time for the 10 minutes of meditation. It gives me the time for 5 minutes of reflection time, which we haven't really talked about, but um, so that 15 minutes is definitely, without a doubt, accounted for. It's covered. And then a lot of the other things that we're talking about, like the smiling or the gratitude practice or positive affirmations, they kind of are happening in like the middle of things, because they're really like short and can be like squeezed in between different things. I actually would prefer it to be that I have more than 15 minutes. Sleep is an issue over here sometimes. But I don't really get too concerned with it because I like to be in a place at a certain time. And I have allowed myself, some wiggle room in the sense that if we're not out by this time, it's not the end of the world. So I have kind of a little bit of a buffer at the beginning and a little bit of a buffer at the end. But yeah, definitely giving ourselves time. And it might even just be like the fact that you want to give yourselves like a minute after the alarm goes off to just lay there, just being able to lay there for a minute. I think you've talked about that before, like just the focusing like on the smiling and stuff, but not just that, like just not just jumping right out of the bed, but like slowly working up to that process.
Yes. I think a lot of people, because they want to get all the sleep in, like you were saying, do have to get up with the alarm. And I started giving myself a 5-minute buffer. So I set my alarm for 5 minutes before I need to. And this is even before my built-in breathing and meditation, because I consider that part of my routine, that this is what I have to do for myself. So I set my alarm 5 minutes before I have to get up for all of that. And that's my time to kind of wake myself up without having to jump out of bed. So sometimes I'll just lay there. Sometimes I'll just kind of sit up in bed. Kind of depends on what I feel like that morning. But it makes it so much easier to actually get up when I need to get up 5 minutes after that, just to have that buffer time.
Absolutely.
Great suggestion.
And I think that's even important. Like I'm thinking in the classroom, and I've had my son even say this, like there are different classes that he goes to because he's in middle school. But he said like there's just some classes that he feels less stressed in, and he said it's just that there's this sense of like calmness and not rushing and just kind of allowing the class to kind of get started in like a very peaceful way. And I think that it's kind of hard as a teacher, especially in secondary grades when, your class is changing like all the time. But for us, we're in elementary, and I've really tried this year to like not get that like wheel going like immediately when they come in. The buses are rolling in and kids are arriving at different times, and just slowly getting our day rolling and started and not stressful, and taking those times in the morning when we don't necessarily have everyone, or that we've all just gotten there, and taking that time to slowly roll things out for the day.
Actually, now that you mentioned it, yeah, I've implemented similar in my classroom. I was at the very beginning of the year, kind of in that paradigm of we come in, we get unpacked, all that, and we have a morning job to do. But then just with the craziness of they've never been in school before, and it was just too much. So I kind of fell into, we come in and get unpacked and wash our hands and all that, but then I let them talk. I don't give them a morning job to do. And it's only 10 minutes before announcements come on and then we start morning meeting and everything. But it's made a difference in the smoothness of our routine in the morning because they don't have to rush to do work and they get to check in with their friends, and it is a lot more relaxed. And if a kid takes 5 minutes to unpack their book bag, it really doesn't matter because that's the time that they needed to take in the morning. So yeah, I mean, kids, what does we do? And even with my personal kids, I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, and my husband wakes them up and I'm downstairs already making breakfast for them. But we were finding that when he got them up and had to just get them dressed and downstairs, when they came down, they were grumpy and they wouldn't, communicate well and tell me what they wanted to eat for breakfast. And they just wanted to lay on the couch and whatever. But now he started getting them up 10 minutes early, and it's made such a big difference because now they can sit in their chairs with him and cuddle. Or when they come downstairs, it's okay. Like they're in a better mood and it's just, they have time to play if they want to. It's just made a big difference for them too. So that is something to absolutely think about with your children. And if your children are old enough that you can have this conversation, even asking them, what is something relaxing that you want time for? And maybe it is playing or reading or just relaxing, and maybe giving a few minutes of buffer for that.
Or if they're a teenage boy, it'd be, I want time to stay in my bed.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's whatever.
Yanking him out of the bed every day. He wants like 5 minutes just to put his shoes on and walk out the door. He doesn't want to do anything else. And I go in there like 30 minutes early because I know how long it takes him. And then he's like, no, I'm just going to stay here. Oh, those teenage boys. Oh my goodness. Let's see. I feel like we have about 5 or so more things that we want to talk about. Do we want to wait for the next episode?
Yeah, I know I have 3 more on my list. I don't know if you have a combined list.
They're probably like the same, some overlap.
So yeah, let's save the rest for next week. So this gives everyone ideas of things to start playing around with, try different things, pick and choose what sounds good to you or interesting. And next week we will have some additional tips that you can choose and try as well and see what resonates with you. As always, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on here on our podcast to listen to. And we also have our Facebook group and Facebook page, Mindset Teaching Outside the Box, where you can ask questions, you can interact with us, and you can get direct access to our podcast episode links to make it easier to find and be part of a wonderful growing community. Eileen, do you have anything else?
Just coughing right now.
All good. We are so grateful for everyone, and we hope that you have a wonderful day. Till next time.